So I'd like to start with an innocent question, and that is, what do you want to be when you're older? Now, when I was a child, I was obsessed with reading, and at the time, the council did a scheme to encourage readership amongst children in libraries, and I remember receiving my first pink library card and feeling like it was my driver's license. I was relentless, and so when people asked me the question of what I wanted to be when I was older, it was naturally an author. I wanted to do for others what authors did for me, and that was expand my mind onto new worlds and new horizons. So as I grew older, my answer changed several times. And at this point, social media was the everyday. There was no life without social media. So my aspirations grew bigger, and I became hungrier, and I became more ambitious. Becoming an author became here, but when I went on social media and I saw all these new possibilities, I was like, I want to be that, I want to be that, I want to be that. And then the realities of adulthood and constrictions came through, and this weight of expectation, this mountain of expectations started to grow on me. Dream high, but make sure you secure your grades, my teachers would say. Dream high, but make sure you can do it whilst maintaining a family and making sure that you're wealthy whilst you do that, my family would say. Dream high, and here's a 5-step plan of how to do it, including waking up at 5 a.m. every morning for a run and drinking a green smoothie for breakfast, YouTube told me. Dream high, but make sure you're bettering society and trying to make society a better place, my religion would stress. Dream high, don't listen to your parents, just quit school and become a boss girl, Instagram said. To be honest, I deeped all of this. Like, genuinely, I cared about all of this stuff. And the time came to decide what to do at university. And for 4 hours, I went through every single UK university website, and I went through every single course, and genuinely not a single one matched the ambition that I wanted to reach. So I was so tempted to just quit. And right now being like a college dropout or like a university dropout is really trendy. It seems to be that in order to be the next Elon Musk or Steve Jobs, you've got to quit school, and I was so tempted to do that. But I'm from an Asian background, and my parents, for the sake of my parents' health, that was not an option. So my mum, she gave me this really great piece of advice, and she said, Mariyah, whatever you do in life, you could become jobless, you could become rock bottom, but that qualification will always be there to show something for you. And I really cared about my parents, and I didn't want to. I know we're in a day and age where everyone's like, don't listen to your parents, but respect to my parents is really important, and I didn't want to leave them out on this journey, whatever this journey would be going forward. Now, as a second generation, a third generation immigrant child, the generation before me was about survival and stability. It was about earning money and, having a nice home and a nice life. But now I'm growing up in an age where innovation and ideation is the priority. So, in this space, I was like, okay, so I know I want to be something big, but also I've got all these things that I want to achieve, and it has to tick all these boxes. So I found a middle ground, and I knew I was like, I don't want to be a doctor, I don't want to be a lawyer, I don't want to be another Muslim, like Asian. It's very typical careers. I knew that I wanted to do something creative to fulfill me. So I found the middle ground, which was journalism. And I said to my parents, I said, look, trust me, I got a U in chemistry A-levels. I'm not doing sciences. And I said, look, I'm not passionate about this, and I'm not going to be the best at it. There are other problems in the world to solve. And I said to them that right now Muslims don't have a good rep in the media, and with the amount of inaccurate stories that are out there, someone has to go out there and tell our stories. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be the community journalist, and I was like, I'm going to do this to make my community proud, my family proud, and I'm going to do this to make God proud, because that's how I want to help people. So I went to university, and for the next 3 years, at university, I stacked up 5 different awards in different community fields. I had bylines in international and national publications. I worked really hard because I really wanted to make sure by the time I was at the end of university, I knew what I wanted to do. And yeah, I was, the one time I went to the library in the uni and I was studying a book, only to find one of my own articles that I've written at 18 cited in that book. Now, life at this point, thank you. Life at this point, it seems so glossy and extraordinary, but internally, I was tired. I was burnt out, I was exhausted, and really frustrated because, it was my final year of uni and I was almost about to graduate, and I was like, look, I'm making my parents, like, what's going on? Like, I should feel amazing right now. I've got all this stuff and these achievements and these things. What is going on? Because I know I don't want to live a life like this where I'm feeling like my battery's on 5%. So, I tried to analyze this and really interrogate what was going on here, because all the things that I cared about, pleasing my parents, helping people, getting good grades, like all of those things, I was achieving, and I thought, why am I not getting satisfaction from all of this stuff? And this was externally on the outside. Internally, I just felt like I had this fear in the pursuit of ambition that the next thing I was going to do was not going to be better than the last. I was constantly trying to climb this ladder. Like, I need to be better, I need to be extraordinary, I need to be amazing. And one of the most common pieces of advice that I've given to people to be successful is to work harder. Sacrifice your sleep, sacrifice your spending, don't travel, don't see your friends, don't socialize, don't go out, don't see your family. And genuinely for 3 years, I followed this advice and I worked so hard. And I thought, okay, right, I just need to work harder. That must be the issue. I just need to work harder. So I was like, why don't I give entrepreneurship a shot? And there was this competition at my university, and it was it's like a Dragon's Den style thing where you pitch a business idea, then you can win some money, and then when you leave university, you can use that money to start up the business. I was so out of my depth. I came up with like some random idea in a week, and I was up against MBA students and people who already started their businesses, but somehow I managed to leave that day with an award in my hand and £1,000 to start a business. So, okay, so this is, again, another award. Like, life should be so cool at this point. Like, yes, Mariyah, like, you've got it all. And then what happened next changed my life. So I had, two of the most valuable assets that people say to you in order to be successful is time and money. If you have those two things on your side, you should be the most successful person in the world. And that was what I had. And by this time I'd graduated, and the pandemic hit, so I had so much time in isolation to basically start this business. But for some reason, I was doing everything but starting this business. I got myself busy with the day-to-day, spending time with my family, and there was like a really interesting, all I could see is this death toll just going higher and higher and higher. And the definition of extraordinary and success changed so much. I mean, in 2020, it wasn't about, how can you become rich and how can you be successful? It was like, how can I survive right now? And all of this external noise to become better, to become richer, to become this, it just shut up in isolation. For some reason, something just quietened this noise, and all I could hear was internally where I was. The currency for success shifted, where actually, if you have your loved ones next to your side, if you are in good health, if you have food, you are the richest person on the world. And that was what I was experiencing at that time. And I just thought to myself, like, for the first time, I just feel like enough. And I wasn't winning awards, and I wasn't going on stages, and I wasn't doing all this stuff. For the first time, I spent quality time with my family, not distracted by the next email or the next meeting. And I was just like, okay, how can I be here, but because I'm still hungry for ambition, I'm still hungry, and I don't know where this pandemic is going to take us. But I like this right now, I want life to be like this, where I get to see my family and just be present with them. There's this saying by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that I live by, which is, the condition of a people will not change until you change yourself. Now, what does that mean? For 3 years, I was burning out. And I thought it was justified because I'm helping people by the end of the day. But how can you help people with an empty cup? If you're not filling into that cup, how can you help people? It doesn't matter what your parameter of success is. And I realized that to be extraordinary, it wasn't all this gloss, these awards, these citations, these articles. To be extraordinary is to embrace what is ordinary and to accept fully who you are. That is the definition of extraordinary, because that is actually way more difficult to do than to come up here on a stage or to win an award or to write an article. Because being ordinary and realizing and being more grateful for what you have right in front of you is incredibly extraordinary. It's something we don't, unfortunately, social media or whatever external pressures, your family, your teachers, for some reason this is robbing us of our present time. And we've come out of the pandemic kind of now, and life has gone back to the meetings, the emails, the life. And I think sometimes we should it's so interesting how quickly we've gone back into normality, as if normality was the best thing for us. And I think now, when I talk about success and when I feel success, context is so important. And this is the thing that is missed from all of these motivational speeches that I used to watch, Instagram quote pages that I used to follow. Success for one person may be putting food on the table that day or cooking a nice meal for your family when all you've wanted to do is order Uber Eats. That's success for one person. But success is also, for other people, securing a 6-figure deal for your business. The context of these messages is so important. And I feel like in this day and age, this generation, this hustle and this grind, we're losing the importance of our intention. Why are you doing this? Who are you doing this for? Oops. So, right now, these are the titles that are associated with me. I am a digital innovator for an organization that betters the future generations of Wales. I've co-founded a Muslim media company to platform Welsh Muslim voices. And I make wedding cakes on the weekends with my mum. But the point is, and also, what society branches me at as being a minority, being marginalized, underrepresented. I know these are really important terms for the politics of it all. But I think on an individual level, I think the difference between where I was before the pandemic and now is that I could lose all of these titles, right? If I lost all these titles, I still feel complete and enough. And to realize that I am actually extraordinary and I don't need any of this because I have so much more and there's so much more that matters to life. So I'm still doing all the things that excite me, but just with a different perspective. And I think that's what I want to say. I want to end on a poem by William Martin. Do not ask your children to strive for extraordinary lives. Such striving may seem admirable, but it is the way of foolishness. Help them instead to find the wonder and the marvel of an ordinary life. Show them the joy of tasting tomatoes, apples, and pears. Show them how to cry when pets and people die. Show them the infinite pleasure in the touch of a hand, and make the ordinary come alive for them. The extraordinary will take care of itself. Thank you for listening.